Well, we're very glad to be back, and most important, we thank you for joining us. On July 28th, we did a blog on separate realities. How when Bill has an idea that he's right, and this is the way life is, and I have an opposite idea, it can create difficulty in relationship for sure. So, how do we overcome that? How do we move to a place where that creates opportunity instead of difficulty?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, in some settings you can just kind of move away from the situation, but in a marriage or a work environment or something like that, or you're probably going to be with this person for quite a while, excuse me, to just kind of put it under the carpet and try to avoid it or agree to disagree and not talk
Or
about it.
compromise around it.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, that is the worst.
So then you're still both kind of in resentment, but you're living together, and it's just, it's not all the potential that the relationship could be, and we've come together because we want to feel close and intimate and share the love that we have for each other. And so one way that we found we can bridge that is what George and Linda Pransky refer to in their book, Unbreak Your Heart, as in-depth conversations. So where we get into trouble, of course, is that my reality, my separate reality, appears to me because I'm the center of the universe, right? Everything revolves around me in my mind. It's all, related to me. So I'm like the center of the universe. So when I have an idea about things, it seems like it's a universal truth. Like, our classic kitchen situation, I don't tend to see the need for the kitchen to be as tidy as Connie does, which partly is because I really don't see the level of stuff on the counter that she sees. And so it just can, with my perception being the center of the universe, it can seem like that's a little extreme, and she's going, what's the matter with this guy? I mean, there's all this stuff. Doesn't he see it? And literally I don't, but it doesn't make sense to her because her vision sees it all. And that's her center of the universe. And everybody would see this, right? So we have these separate realities. And so what helps us bridge this kind of thing is to have an in-depth conversation, learn about the other person's perspective and why that's important to them, and it then helps to bring us closer together instead of holding on to my way is right, therefore your way is wrong, and creating this wedge.
One way that I've found that's really been fun for me is Bill likes to spend a lot of time in his woodworking projects, and I love the result. But I never really queried or asked him questions about the process and tried to learn more about what he loves about it. And so I have been asking questions, and it makes us closer. It's really nice. So that's my example.
Yeah, and it's kind of surprising to me because for decades that we lived together and I'm doing all this stuff, she never had any interest. And so, in the last year or two, she started to ask about, what are you doing and what's that about? And I enjoy sharing it, and it kind of brings us closer together. And
Yeah.
she's never going to be out there doing it, but it's a way that it's beautiful because it expands our awareness of the world at the same time that it brings us closer together.
Yeah, and I love learning his perspective because it's so different from mine.
Mm.
And how he looks at things is fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
If we can let go of our position that my way must be right and I have to protect that, yeah, it's very, it can be a very difficult thing when I'm in protective mode.
Yeah.
just, feel threatened by somebody else's point of view, when that other point of view can actually expand my horizons. So it reminds me of that Rumi poem, Beyond Right Doing and Wrongdoing. There is a field. I'll meet you there. And of course, that is a way of pointing us, this in-depth conversation is a way of pointing us to that field, because we have to let go of I'm right, they're wrong. It's like, well, tell me more about what really interests you about that. And it takes us out of the right and wrong. And where do we end up? We end up in this field that's beyond right doing and wrong doing.
Yeah, talk about your client and their falling out of the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, I have a client who's gotten into a new relationship, and at the beginning, that first month is just heaven, what we call the honeymoon. And then things start coming up where, oh, wait, what I thought this was going to look like is not showing up that way. And so it's such a classic example of when we first come together and we don't know each other real well, and we say things like, how much we love being together and we love to travel, and what one person hears in I love to travel and what the other person sees in I love to travel are different things, but in that initial phase, we just have the phrase to go by, and it's like, oh, we're so alike.
Yeah.
And then the details start coming about around the travel, and it's like, well, that's not what I was thinking. So you see, you get these separate realities starting to show up, and they can create a wedge if we feel like my safety depends on it showing up the way I need it.
Yeah.
And how this in-depth conversation then can bridge that gap that is showing up so that we can begin to understand where the other person is coming from.
Well, what would be an example of how to approach an in-depth conversation around travel, for example?
Yeah, well, so when something comes up about, let's go to Arizona for 2 months, it's like, well, I don't know if, I want to spend 2 months in Arizona. So then asking, why do you want to spend 2 months? What if it was 1 month? Or another issue is that his daughters will be there for part of the time and she doesn't know them very well. And so that could be awkward because he may be off playing golf and she's concerned about, I don't want these awkward silences, just little things the mind makes up. So you want to inquire about those little details of what they see inspires them about their vision of the travel. And you can share what inspires you about your vision of the travel. So you both see the separate realities instead of kind of lobbing grenades over the wall from our separate realities and never really explaining what we love about what we want to do together. It's all in, trying to control the other person, and that's no fun. Then it's all push and pull.
Yeah, and when you do the in-depth conversation, when you ask to really understand what their reality is, it's so fun because then I'm learning and I'm going into new territory, which makes life more interesting.
Yeah. Well, when I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking, what's an example in my life, a classic one, because our website here is all about food and health, was when I met Connie. I had never tasted kale before. And she said, if you want to get rid of this pain, dark leafy greens are essential. So it was dark leafy greens, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I did not like the taste, but I was willing to explore it because there was a promise of it relieving this pain, which it did. But it's interesting now how those greens are some of my favorite foods.
Yeah, they're the ones I like the most usually.
You have naturally.
Yeah.
You naturally gravitated to it, but I didn't. I kind of developed that taste, but it has so expanded my whole repertoire of enjoyment of food, not to mention improve my health so much.
Yeah, it's good.
So expand your horizons.
Have a deep conversation. Yeah, you'll really enjoy it. So we made butternut squash again, but this time to show you how to make it as a main course dish because it's really simple to cook. And then you've got your main course, and you can add veggies to it and dark leafy greens or a big salad, whatever you want. And it makes the meal delicious and quick. And Bill made the most wonderful sauce to go with it. What do you call that? An aioli.
Aioli,
Yeah, it's delicious.
yeah.
So give it a try because it's quick and simple and really yummy.
All right. Thanks for joining us.